Hi everyone, so I decided in April I would read banned books. Oh boy. So every month I try to pick a theme for my books. The reason I do that is for myself. It makes me read more. If I pick a theme and I go pick out the books that I want to read for that theme, it just helps me not have such a wide range of choices, and therefore I will pick something because I already know what I have on my list. And so I chose banned books at the end of February, not knowing that in January a school board in Tennessee had voted unanimously to ban the book Mouse, which we will get to. But the second I heard that, I obviously got the book, and I felt like I was right on given the times that we live here in the United States. And then Florida banned over 150 textbooks, math books in particular. So I felt this was an important month for reading, important both in reading the stories that people thought were banned, but also important to support the authors who wrote the books. So I went to the ALA, which is the American Library Association. They have a list each year of the top 10 books that were either banned, or it says what happened with the book and why. And so what I did was I went on and I looked for books that had duplicates throughout years, because I thought perhaps those were the most important. I also skipped books that I had already read, so I went through and I picked the ones that I wanted. Before I get to the books, in case you don't stay till the end, which I hope you do, but if you don't, in the comments I have links, because once I started looking for banned books, I went down a rabbit hole, an important rabbit hole that I hope everybody goes down. One of the links in particular is a group called PEN America, and they have a resource where you can find by state and school district what books they've banned either from curriculum or from the library. And I had no idea how many books in so many states have been banned from one or the other, either from the library or from the curriculum. It's really a shame. It's really, really, really a shame. And in reading the books that I did, every single book was either from a person of color or from a person in the LGBTQIA community. So it's very clear that, some of the reasons they give are violence or protecting the children. It's very clear that that's not true, that it's really about silencing the voices of the marginalized. And, look at the links, see for yourself, check your state, and let's get into the books. So the first book I read was A Day in the Life of Marlon Bundo. This is a children's book, and it says it's written by Marlon Bundo and Jill Twiss. It's very clear that this is written by John Oliver and Jill Twiss. If you know John Oliver, he has a show on HBO called Last Week Tonight. This was published in 2018. So in 2019, this is on the list at number 3. It says, Reasons Challenged and Vandalized for LGBTQIA plus content and political viewpoints for concerns that it is designed to pollute morals of its readers, and for not including a content warning. In 2018, it was number 2 on the ban list. It says, banned and challenged for including LGBTQIA plus content and for political and religious viewpoints. There is absolutely no religion in this book. I don't know what they're referring to. When this book came out, it was when Trump was in the White House and Pence was the VP. And Pence was anti-same-sex marriage. And John Oliver had done several segments around that issue. And Mike Pence has a rabbit, or had, I don't know if the rabbit's still alive, but called Marlon Bundo. And so John Oliver wrote a book in response to Mike Pence and his anti-same-sex marriage agenda. So when this book came out, we bought it because the proceeds were going toward a charity, and I had never written it, and I had never read it. And so when I was looking through and I saw it on the challenge list, I said, oh, I think I already have this book. And I did. So I read it. And Marlon Bundo is a bunny who falls in love with another bunny, a boy bunny, and they decide that they want to get married. This boy bunny helps him be happier than he was before. And so they want to get married, and all the animals are excited for him, and there's a stink bug who does not want them to get married. The animals have to figure out how Marlon Bundo can marry the other bunny with this terrible stink bug in their life. It's a sweet book. It's fine. It's a cute book. I don't know what they're talking about. What did it say? Designed to pollute the morals of its readers. And I don't understand that. Like, you know who's doing the complaining. There's nothing wrong with this book. It's incredibly sweet. Read it to your children. Does not need a content warning. The next book that I read is called I Am Jazz. And this book was written by Jazz Jennings and Jessica Herthel. And the pictures are by Shelagh McNicholson. This book was published in 2014. 2016 it was number 4. It dropped to number 10. Anyway, it's been on the list ever since. What I Am Jazz is about is Jazz, who is a child. And the way Jazz says it is she has a boy's body and a girl's brain. And this is written for children, very young children, so it's incredibly simple. The language is very simple in it. Jazz knows that she's a girl, and her parents are confused, and so they help themselves and help Jazz figure out why she has a boy's body and a girl's brain. That's it. That's what the book is about. It's easy language, simple to understand, absolutely lovely book. No reason to be on the list. I think we can say that about all these books. But the next book that I read is George. George is another one that has been on the list a lot. And it looks like George was published in 2015. And I think it was on the list every single year since 2015. Let's see. In 2020, George was number 1. It was challenged, banned, and restricted for LGBTQIA content conflicting with religious viewpoints. God forbid we do that. And not reflecting the values of our community. Well, I don't know what community you're in, but it's not mine. Number 1 in 2019, challenge, ban, restricted, and hidden to avoid controversy. Hidden? Who hid it? For LGBTQIA content and a transgender character, because schools and libraries should not put books in a child's hand that require discussion. God forbid we have to discuss things with our children. For sexual reference and for conflicting with religious viewpoints and traditional family structure. All right, so let me tell you about George. George is just like Jazz, who is a boy with a brain's body. George is in 5th grade, and in the 5th grade, they read the book Charlotte's Web, which George falls in love with. And the 5th graders are going to do a play for the younger children and for the parents, and they're going to do Charlotte's Web. Charlotte's Web. And George wants to try out for Charlotte. And the teacher says that George cannot be Charlotte because Charlotte is a girl's character. George has a best friend named Kelly who helps her figure out how she can try out for the part of Charlotte. That's the main thing that this book is. I mean, that's the plot of the book. However, that's not what this book is about. This book is about a transgendered child learning how being themselves is going to be received by different adults in her life. And sometimes it's heartbreaking. But it's also about how when you have the right people in your life, you can be exactly who you are and love it. And I can't imagine not having people read this book. I believe every parent should read this book. Every parent, whether you have a transgender child or not. This is a great book about loving someone. The last chapter, I was crying. This is for 5th graders, and I was crying. It's a very, very good book. I highly recommend that everybody pick this up. Read it from front to start. And I cannot believe that anyone who has challenged this book or hid this book has read this book. I don't know how a parent could read this and think, oh, I need to stop my child from reading this. It's a good book. Read it. The next book that I read was Toni Morrison, The Bluest Eye. This book was published in 1970, 52 years ago. And it has been on the list almost every year. In 2020, it's number 9. The Bluest Eye is about a little girl named Piccola who wants blue eyes. Her and another friend are talking about Shirley Temple and how pretty her eyes are and her little blonde curls. And she wants blue eyes. And this story is not told from Piccola's point of view necessarily. It's told by the people around her. How they react to Piccola and how Piccola reacts to them. The reason that this was challenged is it said because, it says different reasons, but a big reason that they say is because of child abuse, which does exist in this book. It's about a paragraph where it talks about the abuse. One paragraph in this book. I think the reason that people challenge this book is because Toni Morrison does such an incredible job at telling you who each person is. The one paragraph is towards the end of the book. But leading up to that, you know who Piccola is. You know who the people around her are. It's part of the story is told through one of Piccola's friends, Claudia, and her sister Frida. And so you learn about Claudia and Frida and who they are, and you learn about Piccola and who she is, and the women who live upstairs from Piccola, and Piccola's mother and her father. And the writing is something I've never read before. It's not, I want to say it's poetic, which it is. But it's, for example, there's a paragraph, and the paragraph is about 1.5 pages long, and it begins saying, some women are like this. Some women have this experience. Some women, have this happen. And then at the end of this very long paragraph, you realize that it's gone from some women, and somehow, without you knowing it, narrowed all the way down to what we are talking about, Piccola's mother. And we're learning who Piccola's mother is because of everything around her. And I think that's what's so incredible about this book is you learn not only about Piccola, you learn about everything in the world that led up to making Piccola who Piccola is. Toni Morrison's writing is phenomenal. I've heard that her audiobooks, that she reads her audiobooks, and I feel like in the next time I get a Toni Morrison book, I'm going to do it on audiobook because I would love to hear her read the way she writes. I bet it is indeed incredible. It's a very good book. It is true that there is a piece of child abuse in it. It's also a book. It's also a story. That's not a reason to ban it. So it's a very good book. It's such interesting writing. Like, she'll be describing something, and instead of describing the thing, she'll tell you everything that it's not. And in learning everything that it's not, you know exactly what that thing is. So it's incredible, incredible, incredible writing. Highly recommend it. Read the book. Should not be banned. I cannot believe that it's been on the list for 50 years. And then the last book that I read, which is the book that was banned by the Tennessee board, is Mouse. This book isn't on the list because, I don't really know. I don't think it's on the list. I'm not going to scroll all the way back. But as far as I can see, it's not on the list. I didn't choose this book because it was on the list. It's not on the list that I can see. The board members claim that because there's a couple of bad words in this book, that it shouldn't be how we represent the Holocaust. So Mouse is a graphic novel written by Art Spiegelman, and he does the drawing as well, and it's primarily in black and white. Not primarily, it's all in black and white. And he is telling the story of his father and his experience in Auschwitz, and how he survived, and his mother, who survived Auschwitz as well, only to face tragedy later. In reading this book, I tried to think about it as a textbook because that's how it's being banned. If I had read this when I was a kid. And I feel like it would have been transformative. It's a great book. It's written very, very well. And the reason I think it's a very good book is not just because he's recounting his father's story of surviving the Holocaust, but he's talking about his relationship to his father and how that differs. How did the Holocaust, how did Auschwitz create his father? And how did his father having that experience create him? It's incredible. It's a very, very, very good book. In the school board meeting, they also talk about nudity. There's not like sex scenes in this book. It's a scene depicting his mother's suicide. Once again, this is a pretend moral argument to try to soften history. And it's a real shame. This is a very good book. It started selling like crazy after they ban it, which is good. I hope a lot of people read this book. It's great. Should not be on any lists. Should not be banned in any school. This is Mouse. These books I have not gotten to yet, but I got to read. And I just want to show them to you. So the first one is Gender Queer. This is on the list. It's number 1 in 2021. So this is a graphic novel. I don't know what these folks have against graphic novels, but it's written kind of like a comic book, or it's drawn kind of like a comic book. And this is on if you go into the resources and look at the different schools that are trying to ban things, this is listed over and over and over and over and over again as being banned from either the library or curriculum. So I'm going to get to that book. The next one is The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. This book was published in February 2017, and I see this on the list time and time again since 2017. It's also over and over and over again on the list of schools. If you go into the resource, check the different schools in the different cities. This book is constantly being banned from schools or from libraries or from the schools. And in 2021, it was number 5, reasons banned and challenged for profanity, violence, and because it was thought to promote an anti-police message and indoctrination of social agenda. You know the best way to indoctrinate a social agenda? Ban books. The next one I'm reading right now by Sherman Alexie. And this book is very funny. I'm only on page 55 right now. There's my little bookmark. So I'm in the middle of reading this. This is on the list over and over and over and over again. Let's see if we can see why. So in 2020, it was for number 5, banned and challenged for profanity, sexual reference, and allegations of sexual misconduct by the author. I'm only halfway through. I'm only on page 50. I'm continuing to read my banned books into May because I didn't get to these and I want to. So I don't know if these are the only books I'm going to read in May. I don't know, but we'll see. So, like I said, below is a bunch of resources that you can go to find out about what books are being banned where, why, and also places that you can go to combat that. That's it. Read banned books.